Welcome back to the Buce Plant channel, where we cover everything aquascaping and we try and entertain and inspire you along the way. My name is Logan with Team Buce Plant, and for today's topic, we are covering aquarium filtration. We'll discuss the different types of aquarium filtration available on the market, and then we'll talk about which is the best for your planted aquarium. We'll be discussing lots of different equipment today, so feel free to check the description below the video for links to everything we carry. But you can also head over to buceplant.com and check it out for yourself. Now let's get started. So why do you need a filter on your planted aquarium in the first place? Well, for starters, the filter houses all of the beneficial bacteria that help cycle the aquarium and keep things nice and safe and non-toxic for your fish. Additionally, your filter provides circulation and flow throughout the aquarium to prevent stagnant water. And finally, good filtration provides gas exchange, which is super key to any planted aquarium. It's really important that oxygen can enter the tank and CO2 and other gases can exit the tank. So now it's time to talk about the 3 different widely available types of filtration on the market. We'll start with the lowest tech, lowest budget version, and then we'll work our way up to the higher budget, higher tech version of filtration. So starting at the bottom end is the sponge filter. And sponge filters aren't used too commonly in aquascaping, mostly because they're very large and they're a bit of an eyesore. As the name implies, a sponge filter simply sucks up some water, passes it through some mechanical filtration, which is a sponge, and then it exits the top of a tube and reaches the surface of the water. So you do get some nice gas exchange and you get a very large surface for mechanical filtration that some bacteria can grow on as well. On buceplant.com, we carry the Canvy sponge filter. This is an excellent choice. It works really well, and your shrimp will love grazing on the large sponge surface. Next up, we have the hang-on back, also known as HOB filters. And these are a really great option for the beginner aquascaper who wants some customization of filter media but isn't quite ready to commit to the more expensive canister filter. So as the name implies, the hang-on back filter hangs onto the back or the side of your aquarium, and they work well with rim tanks as well as rimless tanks. And oftentimes the insides contain little compartments or cartridges that can be customized, removed, swapped out, and are fairly easily cleaned. And because they sit at the top surface of the planted aquarium, they provide really nice gas exchange. On buceplant.com, we carry the Dymax Slim Flow, and this is an excellent hang-on back filter option because they're very quiet. The filter media is customizable, it's easy to clean, and it comes in 3 different sizes. So have a browse on the website, make a decision based on the size of your tank, and if you have an extra large aquarium, feel free to pick up a couple of them and position them accordingly. And finally, the 3rd type of filter we have is the canister filter. And this is the best option if you want to minimize the presence of equipment in your planted aquarium and you want to house the max amount of bioload in your tank. So canister filters come in a variety of sizes, but they're most famous for their ability to customize the filter media with removable trays and to house just a ton of beneficial bacteria to convert the fish waste into something that's safe. So the cool thing about a canister filter is they are external. You can keep the canister filter and all the media that it houses completely out of sight, either under the tank, inside a cabinet, or by the side of the aquarium. On the Buce Plant website, we carry the Delta canister filter, which is highly customizable. However, if you don't want to customize it and you're on a little bit more of a budget, it has everything you need to get started right out of the box. But many aquascapers like to add beautiful glass lily pipes to the end of the filter tubing, and they also prefer to have crystal clear tubing. So you'll be able to do exactly that with a Delta filter. You'll be able to add those crystal clear lily pipes, which is going to further minimize the look of the equipment in your aquascape. Additionally, they're really easy to surface. All you have to do is turn off the filter and you can remove the trays individually, swap out media, get rid of filter floss that is worn out and dirty, squeeze out sponges, and then get it back up and running. One bonus filtration type that we like to mention, which almost isn't really a filter, it's more of a supplement, is the surface skimmer. And the surface skimmer can be an excellent supplement to your existing filtration, or it can be used as a small little filter for a really, really tiny nano aquarium, something under 5 gallons. It's time to determine which filter type is best for you. And there's really no easy answer for this. However, we can say if you have the budget and you're willing to do some customization, the canister filter is the absolute best choice for pretty much any aquarium, especially if you're serious about aquascaping. It's gonna provide that most minimally obtrusive view into your aquascape. It's gonna give you the customization you want, and it's gonna provide the most surface area for your beneficial bacteria to grow. However, if you're on a little bit of a tighter budget, the HOB or hang on back filter is a close second. As long as you purchase a HOB filter that provides enough circulation, power, and flow for your aquascape, it's gonna get the job done. It's a little bit more of an eyesore compared to the canister filter, but it's still fairly minimally unobtrusive, especially if you go with the Dymax Slim Flow. And then finally, if you're a breeder or if you have a shrimp or snail only tank, a sponge filter could get the job done for you. As we mentioned earlier, the sponge filter can be a bit of an eyesore, but if breeding beautiful shrimp or guppies is something you're going for and you're just focused on the fish keeping, then this could be a great option if you have a bunch of different breeder setups. Additionally, if you're on a super duper tight budget and you're willing to keep a really small bioload and provide a ton of plants for filtration, a sponge filter will get the job done. It's just not the best option. It's really important to know that you cannot over-filter an aquarium. There is no such thing. You can, however, have too much circulation and too much flow. So we recommend purchasing something much larger than your system really needs and then reducing the flow. And one sort of benchmark you can keep in mind when seeing if the filter you're purchasing can handle the volume of your aquarium is the flow rate. And flow rate is measured in gallons per hour, or GPH. We recommend that the filter has a GPH of at least 4 to 6 times the tank's volume. So to give you an example, if you have a 20-gallon planted aquarium, we recommend that the filter should have an 80 to 120 gallon per hour flow rate. We have 3 different types of filtration. We have mechanical filtration, biological filtration, and chemical filtration. And biological and mechanical filtration are an absolute must. Chemical filtration is optional and customizable depending on the types of water you're using and what your goals are. So mechanical filtration usually exists in the form of either a coarse or a fine sponge, all the way up to a super fine filter floss. And what this does is it simply removes the large, medium, and small floating particles of debris from your aquarium. And next up we have biological filtration, which is highly, highly important and vital to a healthy planted aquarium. This type of filtration media houses the beneficial bacteria that are gonna help you with the nitrogen cycle. For an in-depth explanation on how to cycle your aquarium and the role of beneficial bacteria in the filter, feel free to check out our video specifically on that topic. That'll be linked down below in the description. And finally, we have the optional chemical filtration. And the most common form of chemical filtration is activated carbon. So this will remove excess waste organics, some nutrients from the water column, and depending on the type of chemical filtration you purchase, you can target the removal of certain things like phosphates or nitrates. Some chemical filtration will either soften or harden the water. So take a look at the tap water you're using if you are using tap water and see if there's something you want to reduce. But a little bit of activated carbon in your filter will all around just make things look a little bit more clear, and they'll help reduce some of those excess waste organics. So while it's not entirely necessary, it can help improve the visibility of your water if you're having clarity issues. Filter maintenance is so important because, as we mentioned earlier, while the filter removes floating particles and waste organics from the water column of the aquarium itself, they're not removing them from the system. They're being held inside that filter. and your filter media can easily clog. So we recommend every 4 to 6 weeks, and it's gonna vary depending on your system and the size of your filter, getting in there, taking out the cartridges or the trays or the sponges and giving them a good squeeze and rinse. And it's really important that you don't do this in chlorinated water. So we typically recommend draining some water from your tank and using that water to clean the filter media, because if you do it under the sink and your tap water has a ton of chlorine and chloramines, you're gonna kill that beneficial bacteria. And it's also really important that you get through this process in a timely manner. Don't let your filter media dry out. Don't let it sit around for hours. Try and do this process in under 20 minutes so that you don't disturb your beneficial bacteria. If you're using a tiny filter on a really large tank with a high bioload, it might clog up every week. So observe, keep an eye on your flow and your circulation. And if you find things are getting reduced, you're gonna have to get in there and service your filter. So that's all the time we have for today. We hope this video on the different filter types and filter media is really helpful, because it's gonna really allow your system to thrive. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for lots more great content like this. This has been Logan with Team Buce Plant. Now get out there and create something beautiful.